Welcome to the MHP CashFlow Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of mobile home park investing, real estate strategies, and building long-term passive income. Hosted by Garrett Terrell, real estate investor, mobile home park operator, and founder of Rocket Capital Fund.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the MHP CashFlow Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Terrell, and today I have an awesome guest in Mr. Jimmy Johnson on the podcast out of Florida. Jimmy, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hear you are in Florida, right? Are you in any other markets in the Southeast?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. So we're in 20 different states that we're operating in, and we're looking for deals in all 50. So
Wow.
Yeah,
you're in 20 states right now.
20, yeah.
And how old are you?
29.
20 states at 29 years old. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm in one.
Hey,
that's the
hardest one. That's that first one.
I need to catch up to you. So that's awesome, dude. So
Thanks.
How many total lots are you currently up to right now?
It is 2,400 range. Just under 2,500.
Man, that is insane. That's awesome. I think you have the most. You have the most lots out of any guest that I've had on so far.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate
wild.
that.
That's
Thank
awesome.
You.
So when did you get started?
Got started in about 6 years ago, in between 6-7 years ago. It's tough to kind of pinpoint one because like the first year was just cold calling and didn't do anything technically. But I've been doing it like 6-7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, love it. It's 24/7. It's crazy. We're always saying like we're gonna write a book, just like after 2,500 tenants, just like the things you've seen and and heard, and
that is just
it's so crazy.
That's just unbelievable, man. 2,500 tenants. That's so much. I mean, so like, tell me how it all started, right? Like 6 years ago, mobile home parks were not popular at all. Like there was no hype. There was no nothing. So how'd you get, your interest peaked into the business, and like, how'd you start with your first park? What was that like?
Yes, I was in college. I was like playing soccer and like was looking for like a way to make money that like wasn't like a go clock in job. So I turned to Craigslist at the time to find a gig to make some cash, and so I start there, and I found that you have to like take pictures of houses, and we'll pay you $10 a picture. So I thought it was like the best thing ever, because I'd like go work a day, make like $80, and be like, this is unbelievable. And I'm like, if I'm making $10, they must be making like at least 100. I just had no idea like anything about real estate. So I started doing like this foreclosure picture thing, and then I'm like, I really like want to do more of this. So I started like researching different types of real estate, came across wholesaling and renting. I really knew like absolutely nothing. So somewhere in that kind of early stages, I'm like, I'm gonna list out every type of real estate, and I there's stuff I like didn't even know like what a storage building was, and so I'm like, I'm gonna list out everything. I'm gonna like list out every way to make money in it. So I had like every asset class, and then I had like insurance broker, appraiser, flipper, kind of everything. I just started like check them off one by one, and then I saw like some mobile home park stuff, and the guys just seemed like just a little bit happier than the rest, and they're like, we don't have to do repairs and maintenance. So I'm like, that sounds great, because at the time like I lived in an apartment building, and I'm like, I definitely like wouldn't want to be the maintenance guy. So kind of whittled it down, and then what put me over the edge is when I read that mobile home parks were the only type of all of them where there was less of them every year. Because they're, demolishing them. And there was like, there's 5 million apartment buildings, there's 2 million storage buildings, and it's like, oh shit, there's only 38,000 mobile home parks, and there's less every year, and there's nobody who's wholesaling them. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a mobile home park wholesaler. So I like talked to Frank Roll, and he's like, yeah, there used to be a guy who was killing it. We bought a ton of stuff from him, but then he just moved on. So Frank was like, there's like nobody who's doing it. And I'm like, it's going to be me.
Wow.
So I like bought a ticket to one of his events, called for a year. Finally, my first park was in Alabama, as you know, and I didn't have the money for like the earnest money, so I'd like ask my grandma to borrow the money, and it was crazy. Like I'll never forget it. Closed my first one, and now we just did number 93. So it's been a wild ride.
93. Wow, that is amazing. So you wanted to be a mobile home park wholesaler 6 years ago. Which,
when there was
that's
none.
kind of when there was none. When kind of that's when the whole single family wholesale thing exploded.
100%,
that's when all of the like 2017, 2018, kind of in that range. Mm-hmm. That's really when all of the gurus appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, because that's when I remember seeing it, because I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, everybody's wholesaling houses, but like nobody's doing this for mobile home parks.
No. See, I wish I got started back then. I was so far removed from that. I thought I was cooler because I was the flipper. I'm like, you're the wholesaler. Like, you answer to me, I thought I was so much smarter than these guys. I thought I was so cool because I actually bought and flipped the houses. Whereas, they just assigned it and they made the same as me. You know?
I mean, those days were crazy because, like, it's funny, like, the first call I ever made, I ended up closing that deal, and the second call. So I just, like, got totally lucky. But, now it's, like, it's obviously a lot more competitive. And some of the deals I did that first year, I was so happy with, like, what I was making. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I should have charged, like, literally 100 times more than what I was. I was, like, doing home run deals and, like, happy making, like, $10K fees, and it was like the best year of my life because I'm like, man, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had $600 a couple months ago, and now we're making $10,000 in fees.
It was
yeah. So yeah, I mean, those were like the best days because just grinding. I was up like all night, literally building the database. I'd call all morning. I dropped out of school, moved in with my grandparents. I'm like, we are going to be successful mobile home park wholesalers. So they were so into it, and then I named my company after like the street that they lived on, because I wouldn't have done it without them. So it was amazing, and those were like just the good old days of just grinding.
Oh yeah, grinding. Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So you just started out wholesaling, right? And then you just saw a bunch of parks, then you wanted to buy them. So did you like download a list? I mean, did you go to like List Source, mobile home parks, owner, operator, and then just plug it into the dialer and just start dialing? Is that kind of how you started?
Kind of, but even simpler. I didn't even know stuff like that existed. So I've never used a dialer. It's all been only the cell phone.
Nice.
Yeah, never used a dialer. I've never paid for a list. We've like never spent like $1 on like list building. It's just always been like just like the grassroots, like building it ourselves. So, like back then I would just go on Google, I would just type in like a city and then just like mobile home parks. And then they would just show up, and it was like mostly big ones, and sometimes there was like little ones on there. Or ones that like didn't have any reviews or just like stuff like that. And I would just call them. So like that first time, I don't even know how I came up with it, but I'm like, I'm gonna do Birmingham and Florence, South Carolina, and I would just go like kind of tit for tat. Like I'd call one Birmingham, then I'd call one Florence. I have no idea why like I picked those two markets, but and yeah, like that's how it got started. So I did 6 or 7 deals that first year in Alabama. Did 2 in South Carolina, and it was just wholesaling them. And then I would like start to hear everybody like, we want to buy it, but it's like it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to go there. Like, I have a family. Like, I don't want to just manage trailer parks. So I'm like, nobody really wants to do this. But that's like my biggest objection is they just don't want to manage them. So one day I was like, I'll do it. And they're like, you know how? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, of course I know how to manage them. So, of course we didn't know anything. And we just started managing. And then people would be like, yeah, hey, so you bring the deal, you bring the management, but they even want kind of more, like the whole concierge like level. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll take a piece of the deal and I'll do everything. Like, you don't have to ever go. So now most of our deals, we like still do the assignment, we manage it, we own a piece of it. They never see it. We do 100% of everything. Like, we do the phase one, we do the insurance, we do, the whole package. We just try and make it like as easy as possible.
Make it as easy as possible, and you're maximizing revenue on each sale. You know, you're not just getting a $25,000 assignment fee and then just saying, all right, I'll send you the next deal that comes across. You know, you're actually really digging deep into each deal and maximizing revenue on every single 100%. Transaction.
Yep,
yeah,
100%.
That's really smart, dude. Like, a lot of people do not think like that, including me when I started. So, hats off to you on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you literally just called people off of Google. Like, there was you still do. Yeah. And you probably get an office number a lot of the time, right? And so, No,
we do. So we still do that. So I always tell people, like, especially on like the podcast and stuff, like, you could hang up, like, if you're listening to this, as soon as this is over, just pick a city and just type in mobile home parks on Google and just start calling. Or if, like, whatever city you live in. Because, like, for both of us, like, we have the competitive advantage, like, in where we live. But if we wanted to call parks and just say Indianapolis, like, we don't live there. So if you live there, just Google mobile home parks near me and just start calling. Like, if you talk to the office, the manager. You just say, hey, like, hey, I'm looking to maybe buy the park. A lot of times they always hate the owner. The grass is always greener. So a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll give you his number. Or you just say, hey, do you have any vacant homes? They always, have something. I'm looking at buying vacant homes. But yeah, I might maybe even want to buy the park. And I talk to the owner? And yeah, people like overcomplicate it. Like, I would just take my cell phone as soon as it's over, Google mobile home parks near me, and just start calling.
That's awesome. That is like as simple as it gets.
100%.
It just takes the balls to actually do that, right? A lot of people don't like to do it. I'm like, from the analytical mind, I'm like, okay, let's get this 3,000 person list. Let's upload it into the dialer. Let's make sure the voicemail callback is perfect. Like, let's do all of that. And then you're just out there calling on an iPhone and talking to the manager in 5 seconds, Yeah,
and we really, like, I think a lot of the complicated stuff is, like, where they end up, like, getting pissed and, like, hanging up on you. Like, we don't really get even a lot of angry ones. Like, I've tried, like, the ringless voicemail, like, some of the stuff, like, years and years ago. But now it's like we just call and, like, hey, we have a park an hour away, and it's just, like, super casual. It's just kind of like a manager talking to a manager. I'll even say, like, hey, I'm the manager of XYZ Park. Because, if we're managing it, technically I'm the manager. And, they're like, oh, hey, fellow managers just chatting. Tell me about your owner. And, oh, he sucks. How about you? And I'm like, oh, well, we want to redo the roads. But, so, yeah, you just got to, like, relate to them. And, that's still all that we do. We just keep it super simple.
That's awesome. I love that. So, gosh, 93 communities. So how do you even begin to manage 93 communities? I mean, that has got to be, please tell me you do Rent Manager and you don't do everything on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, so we're, some of those we've sold. So yeah, we have 63, or we have 64 parks that we, like, currently operate. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So, like, every day there's some emergency. Every day there's, like, an eviction that, like, the set out's happening. It's just like a numbers game.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean it's I don't know, it's like a never-ending kind of wheel of just trying to like stay organized and just try and like devote the time. So like of the 63, like yeah, one of them's doing the best right now, and then one of them's doing the
Yeah.
worst. So it's like
Yeah.
it's just trying to like our biggest like struggle is just like where do we put the time? Because like, we can only kind of
Wow.
be like on site properly at one at a time, and a lot of them are like near each other. So we have like some economies of scale, but we're still in 20 states.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just that, and it's just trying to like do everything. Like, what's the absolute best way we could do it so we don't have to do it again and again? So we used to like cut more deals with tenants and be like much more flexible, and now it's like, hey, you got if you want to stay, you have to pay. Um, with the contractors, like sometimes like the super mom and pop ones, like it's just too much like management. So now it's, even if we have to pay like a
Yeah.
little bit more, it's just like the speed of getting it done. Really just trying to like systemize it, but it's I jokingly say, I mean it's torture, but it's
Yeah.
we love it, but it's torture.
Oh yeah. I mean, just thinking about it, just thinking out loud here, 67 communities means that you most likely have one person on site for each of them, right?
Hmm.
Like some type of on site. Maybe they're not
Yep,
living there. Maybe they're not an on site manager collecting rent, but there's somebody involved in that
yep,
on site operation. And then you probably
yep.
have somebody that's reporting to that on site person, and they report to you, or maybe there's another chain of command in between there. So I'm assuming you got like 100+ person team.
I mean, it's like our in-house team is like small. I've always just been like the hire slow, fire fast kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So like in-house, it's super small. The in the park, like every park, yeah, like you said, has some form of manager or like eyes and ears. And then yeah, it's like it's just also like juggling that. Like I see like a lot of people they want to do like the same system across all of them. So we have some managers that are like amazing at selling homes. So we never have to get involved with like selling, leasing. But we have others who couldn't sell a home if their life depended on it. We have others who fix everything. So we never have to call in like outside help. Where others where yeah, they just aren't handy. So it's been we used to try and like systemize everything. We have a lot of the parks where the calls, if like the tenants call, they come to our office. Um,
Yeah.
Others where they just talk to the manager. So that's been like one of the biggest things like over the last year or two. So in like the going from like 30 parks to approaching 70 that we're managing, it's just like what managers are good at what stuff, and like let's just go all in on that. Like if they know
Yeah.
how to be handy, let's like fire the guy who cuts the grass. Let's not use an outside plumber. Like let them just do all of it. But in turn, they're not going in rent manager. Like I used to have every manager have a rent
Mm.
manager account. So my day would just be like, oh my god, my computer isn't working, rent manager doesn't work. And I'm like, what are you on? What type of a computer do you have? And they're like, oh, my grandson gave it to me. And I'm like, what's on it? Is there an Apple on it? Or is there like so I'm like, we're just
Yeah.
spinning our wheels. So like now maybe like 10 of our managers actually use Rent Manager. And the rest we're like, if you want to see a balance, just ask me. And like we'll just send it to you. Because that is easier than like
Yeah.
trying to troubleshoot. Um, so that's been huge for us, is just like what are they good at? And then kind of only have them do that. So
Yeah. And then you guys do the bulk of it virtually through Rent Manager, right?
yeah, so everything runs through Rent Manager. We don't do like a lot of the automated stuff. Like we manually add the late fees. We do like a lot of that stuff manually, just like keep it or
Okay.
like a finger on the pulse. And yeah, then we just like send the balance due report to the manager. We have like a template late notice. Some of them
Mm.
are great, like they're doing the evictions on their own and everything. Others we have to do it. So yeah, it's like a
Wow.
work in progress. Yeah, we have a lot of room to improve, but trying every month to get better.
Yeah. Gosh, well, it seems like you're doing well so far. Um, that's a lot of communities. That's a lot of stuff to manage. So do you think like that's your competitive advantage? is that you know how to manage better than other people? Or is it buying parks or underwriting parks, or it's management? That's like your superpower.
I think it's yes and no. I think it's more just like the whole package. Like I think like a lot of times people like they're like amazing at underwriting, so they're like building calculators and they're doing all this, or like they're amazing at due diligence, or they're amazing at financing. It's like I'm not amazing at any of it, but I'm good at like all of it. So it's like if you just be good at all of it, then you're like amazing as a whole. So yeah, like I wouldn't say any of them. I'm like, like a superpower.
The whole package.
It's just like like just the whole package, and it's like just the relationship building. So like even like the deals that we have under contract now, we have 6 of them. I mean, 3 of them didn't even come with a rent roll. So it's like we're building relationships with sellers who don't even have a rent roll. One of them I've been working for 6 years, and it's like if there's and then like in the beginning, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, all I did is go and meet sellers. So if I'd be talking to a seller, and I've told the story like 1,000 times, but like it's in Kansas or wherever, and like I'm talking to them, oh yeah, like let's sit down and let's hammer out the details. When do you want to? And I think sometimes they forget that I'm not there. And they're like, how about dinner tonight? And I'm like, oh, it sounds good. And I hop on a plane and go meet them for dinner. So it's like, it just kind of like, I would say superpower is just like doing what other people don't want to do. And like, we still do it. And it's just the repetition and just the relationship building and just that whole package. And I think the sellers see that we're genuine, that we're keeping our word, and we're just not overcomplicating everything. Like just roll up and
you're willing to meet them actually on site and willing to hang out with them, and that definitely builds a ton of rapport with the sellers. That's awesome. So what does the first 30 days look like when you buy a new community? What are you guys doing management wise? What does that transition look like? How do you make the transition efficient?
Yeah, that's the most important 30 days for sure. So we, I don't think a lot of other people do it, but so we go to the park the first day of closing. Every park, no matter how big or small, we're there, and of course the weather's like always terrible. So we do like a lot of stuff up north, and it was I think 2 years ago we did one in Minnesota. It was like -35, middle of winter, and just like loading up the little papers to go pass them out. It's just like if it was a 100-site park, it was a big one, and you're like, you just know it's gonna be torture. But the tenants are like, you're out here like door knocking, and it's -30. So even like right down in there. And then they always like, for whatever reason, they always think like a Bass Pro Shop or somebody bought the park. So it's like, hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a couple guys. We're not a big company. I have like my like park outfit. I have like a cold weather one and a warm weather one, but it's like a white t-shirt, navy blue shorts, flip-flops, or it's just like a plain jacket and just like plain blue pants. Like just totally normal. And they're like, oh, you guys you're not with Bass Pro Shop, right? And I'm like, no. They're like, we heard Bass Pro was going to buy this. And it's like an 8-site park that's on like a 1/10 of an acre. It's so funny. So
that's hilarious.
And like, no matter where, like there'd be like a Bass Pro Shop 2 minutes away. And they're like, oh, they're going to like build like a satellite Bass Pro. So funny. So yeah, we just go and we just meet them all. And we just talk to them and, hey, like what's going good? What's going bad? What do you want to see different? And a lot of times they're like, oh, this place is a dump. You're probably going to be a slumlord too. And I'm like, well, what would you do? What would you change? Well, and they don't even have an answer. And they're a lot of them just like, they don't even know what is wrong. So I think just like so much of it is just like de-escalating things right away. We're real, we're normal, hearing the concerns, which typically aren't very serious. And a lot of times you do hear the same thing like 20 times in a row. We need speed bumps. We've been asking the old owner for 18 years to get us speed bumps. So then you could roll in there. week 2 and already have all the speed bumps done, and they're happy. A lot of times it's just like dumpsters. Like, hey, number 10 is like a slob. Like, just clean his stuff up. So you just go and tell that guy. Like, one time we did one where every person was like, lot 60 has to go. Like, they have to go. And I'm like, I'm going to do it today. So I like went and did like a cash for keys with lot 60. And then the whole park, they were like clapping. They were like, yeah, this is like, we have a new king.
Wow.
So you just gotta like hear them out, and I think it's just so valuable to just like not overthink it again. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're walking, you see like garbage in the road, you just like pick it up, like just showing like, hey, we care. Like again, just like not overthinking it. Like by no means like are we the
Yeah.
smartest operators at all, but we just go
Yeah.
and we're just kind of like hang out with them, and we're just normal. And yeah, like we try not to go inside a lot, like the houses, because they like all invite us in, but like go inside a few, like chat with
Yeah.
them. Yeah, you just like want the word to spread. Like, hey, they're cool, they're normal. We
Yeah.
do like we always do the rent raise like that first day, so we do like lessen the blow with that. This is what we're doing. We pass out the letter, like a little picnic or like a spring cleanup. So we always do like an event like that as well. And yeah, we just trying to be like relatable. We just want them to call us before they like complain to the city or the state or call the mayor or something. So
Yeah. Wow. So you're physically meeting them there on site the day of closing and saying, hey, we're closing on this. Here's the new,
yeah,
here's your new lease. Your rent's going up $150. And, this is the contact phone number you can call, and here's your rent manager portal, and you're kind of giving them like a welcome packet. Is that?
yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, we're doing all
Yeah.
of it right then and there. So I'd rather kind of like spend like 4 days there and do it right than like leave. We used to do it different. We'd go in and just get out of there right away. Now
Yeah.
it's like a lot of them are like, I'm not paying out Walmart. I am not paying online. I am putting a check in the Dropbox. Meanwhile, we're like dismantling the Dropbox. So
Yeah.
we're like, no, like you have to do that. We're like, it's not hard. There's like nothing to be afraid of with it. Like, let's set it up right now. Because like, there's nothing worse. It was a couple years ago. We closed the park like 2 days before my birthday. We're in the Florida Keys. Like, just get there, get my fishing pole out. I'm like, hey, we are on vacation. We're here, and everybody starts calling. And we're just like the whole time like troubleshooting rent managers. I forgot my password. Can you see my password? So now we're like, no, it's not worth it. Like we're just gonna stay here until we feel like confident. So a lot of times I
Yeah.
leave that first day, and like my main employee he'll stay. But it's just
Wow.
so much better just to do it right up front.
Yeah. So you get these people set up like on auto pay, like the day of closing.
Oh yeah, I wish we did all of them that day. A lot of them we don't meet everybody because they're like at work or they're out of town. But like we started
Yeah.
tracking it like a lot better this year. So the tenants that we end up evicting or having problems with, it's like over 50% of them are people that we never met. So it's like that
Really?
trip when we were there, like we did not shake their hand, we did not meet them, we did not like set up their account. And a lot of times it snowballs. Like if you're not there and you don't set them up right, they'll miss that first month because like they didn't know how to pay online. Now the second month
Yeah.
rolls around and they're like, well, now I owe $800, and it's like this huge number. And if something happens and now it's that third month and it's like time to evict, so like we just try and nip it right then because if not, I
Wow.
mean, the data just doesn't lie. Like if you don't meet them, it is a lot worse.
Wow. So you don't do any type of phone calling with the tenants, like you physically meet them in person.
Yeah, I mean, they call, the phone rings off the hook after, but still, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we meet them all. Yeah, so we go door to door. We always do it the same way. We just like print out the rent roll and we just bring highlighters and we'll just like kind of one by one highlight them when we meet them. And yeah, probably
Yeah.
averages 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a tenant. So we've got
Yeah.
it down like pretty good. Some of them it's a minute. Most of them it's a minute or it's like 30 minutes. there's not a lot that you're talking to in that in between. Like they're either like, hey, sounds great, I'll read this over,
Yeah.
or they just like lay into you. But that's been like the best thing. We've done that since like our first park. We've always like
Wow.
gone and met them, and you learn a lot of the stuff that's wrong. It's so valuable. It's like the best thing you could possibly do.
So you just ripped the Band-Aid off from the start, basically.
With everything, yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is awesome. That's definitely hands-on. That is, and you fly out, you've flown out to every single park, every single 67 of the parks, or 93.
Every single one of them, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. that's a lot of travel, but.
Oh yeah. No, one of those trips though, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those is like more valuable. Like I've even told people before, like if you're like learning, I'm like you could tag along with me. Like if we're doing a park in Chattanooga and like you live there and like like I have like the newsletter and post on social a lot. Like and you see like I'd be happy to like have people just tag along because like you learn more in an hour than you will in like 1,000 hours of like the reading and the watching. Like just being in there, talking to the tenants, seeing what goes wrong. And, like, all of our stuff has, like, just been refined over, 93 of them. So, like, our letter is, like, no, we don't have to change anything. Like, we know exactly what to say. Like, we say, like, if you pay at Walmart, it's a $4 fee. If you pay online, it's free if it's your bank account. Credit card, they charge the fee. Like, we put everything in there. Like, really have just narrowed, like, it's just, like, it's so valuable just to go and just boots on the ground.
That's so good. Yeah, I love that. It's almost like got me thinking, I'm like, do you want to manage some of our parks and like do all that? I'm like, that's
a lot of
valuable.
People, like, we always get asked. Yeah. It's tough because, nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, I know. Because it's, I mean, even meeting tenants in single family houses, like stick built and duplexes, it's still nerve wracking, because you don't know what they're going to say. You don't have any idea, and so it's kind of that same mantra with mobile home parks, and some of them are a little rougher than others, and some of the tenants are a little rougher than others, and you don't know if there's going to be a conflict or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you kind of set the temperature for everything? Because I can imagine you probably had, like, if you go out to 2,500 tenants and say, hey, your rent is going up $100 a month, I can't imagine everybody's going to be like, okay, perfect. Like, you can charge it on this card. You're going to get some pushback. You're going to get some people that are pissed. Yeah. And so how'd you kind of navigate around that?
I mean, I don't know. It's, No, we haven't. I mean, it's just like, people get pissed, and it's like a customer service business. Like, nobody calls to, like, say good job or thank you. Like, people call to complain. It's just the nature of customer service. And especially then. And, like, a lot of it is just, like, the change. Like, most of the owners that, we buy from, they've owned for typically, I don't know, I would have to do the math on it, but I bet our average owner has like owned for over 20 years. So like they know the family, they know the kids, they saw, little Junior was born in Lot D, now he's the manager, like, so I think the change scares them a lot, and a lot of times, like, so now we do 2 rounds, like we meet them all, and then we like say bye to all of them, like on the way out, like, hey, we just wanted to say bye, did you have any questions? And so many of them, like, apologize. Like, hey, super sorry. Like, the change scared me, and I shouldn't have taken it out on you, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we've had, like, so many crazy stories. We probably called the police 100 times. We closed one park to where, they were so angry, they didn't like it. And, like, I had all the balances. I told the one, like, you are being evicted. You owe thousands of dollars, and, then I was like, or you can just leave and try and do like a cash for keys thing day one. And she had like a teenage son who was like a big tough guy, and he was hiding in the closet, and he heard. So as soon as I turned around, he ran with a knife, at me. So I ran like a block down the park and got into the manager's house. and called the police.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I mean, so we've had that. Obviously,
Wow.
evictions, the crazy stories. Yeah, we had one that was like in Arkansas earlier this year, to where like the police were knocking, the guy just shot out the door. One of the cops was like, "Oh, that's so and so," and the guy had like 15 warrants. So there, it was like a
Oh my
manhunt, and
gosh.
so you still see that it's like, but 10% of the tenants cause 95%
Yeah.
of the problem. And people are like, "Who's your
Yeah.
best
So,
tenant?" I'm like, I don't know. Like,
yeah. So you're not dealing with a ton of problems. You're dealing with, a small percentage. And again,
mm,
you're just getting through that small percentage. You're just taking each situation as it is,
mm,
and basically responding to that. That's good. That's probably the best way to do it, honestly. I mean,
yeah,
it's much better than just doing all of this virtually and dealing with like 40% of the people that are unhappy versus like going there on site physically. 90% of the people are happy, but 10% are saying something. It's
yeah.
probably a
I
better,
really, yeah, 100%. I really think probably
yeah,
90% of our tenants we never talk to again after that initial first visit. Like, they're great, and they're just normal people who just pay their bills, and yeah, if they have a problem, they call, we solve it, and that's it. Like, it is 10% that cause all the problems. So we would think that it would just go away. Like, we evict them, and just something about, like, there always has to be, like, a couple bad boys in there. Like,
yeah,
if it's a 100 site park, there's 10. If it's a 10 site park, there's one. So it's like, well, evict them. Well,
yep,
then somebody else is the new bad guy. And it's always like that. And it's just like, it's spot on. We have a 40 site park, there's
yeah.
four that are bad. Like, always.
That's crazy. It's crazy how that works. It's the same on each scale. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the
So,
most tried and true equation ever.
so, I mean, obviously 93 mobile home parks has got to be extremely expensive. I mean, probably at least north of 100 million. Um, I mean, how are you acquiring these parks? I mean, you're partnering with people, right? How are you taking them down? Are you doing a traditional syndication structure and raising the down and guaranteeing the debt and doing that whole thing? Or are you just doing JVs? Like, how are you structuring your acquisitions?
Yeah, so we've never done any like syndication stuff, just all like just super, just clean, just like JV deal style. Um, so, especially in the beginning, I mean, a ton of them were just like pay us a fee and we'll manage it. Um, all the ones that we're a part of are typically it just like this is how much percent of the deal that we want. This is what we're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do, um, and let's just get it done. A ton of seller carry deals. I mean, dozens of
Hmm.
them. But yeah, I mean, just everything that we've done, just in like the effort of scaling, has just been like just the most simple, easiest, waste like no time. Like what you do, an easy JV deal, like super clean
So,
percentages. Yeah.
have you done any bank financing?
Especially in the beginning, like a lot of those deals, we were doing like bank financing. Recently, it's mostly been all cash deals.
Hmm.
We're doing like a lot of like kind of hairier, more complicated deals now. I think it's like a lot of all that's left is like messier stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think this year, I think every deal that I've closed this year, I think has been all cash. Um, we
Wow.
have one that's closing the last week of the year that they're getting financing.
Wow.
It's just like an assignment deal. But yeah, I mean, they're really just all cash and just keeping it simple. I mean, there's such a demand for parks. We've just tried to just
Yeah.
like if you want to buy one of these, the seller doesn't have any docs. We're not gonna wait months and months and months. Like, if you want to do it, this is just what it takes. So we've kind of just like stuck to our guns on that. We've done like a lot of 1031 buyers.
Hmm.
a lot of people who have just been waiting for the right deal. I've had a guy reached out this month. He's like, I've been reading your newsletter since the first one, 5 years. And he's like, I'm finally ready.
Wow.
I've just been saving up, and he's like, I just want to buy like a small park. So we do like a lot of smaller, a couple $100,000, smaller deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keeping it clean and easy. I mean, I have the same website that I set up 5 years ago. I've never touched it. Same logo, same
Wow.
email list. I mean, literally, almost like nothing has changed in 5 years. Maybe that's not the best thing, but it's it just works.
Yeah.
It's just all easy.
So you're just scaling with simple, smaller deals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the biggest deal that you've done in terms of lots?
In the 130 range, 136, I think it was.
136.
So those are biggest. Our smallest was 3. Our average size, as at the end of last year, was 33, I think it was. It'll probably come down a hair this year. So about our average size now over the 93 is in between 29 to 31 lots. Yeah, they're just the
Nice.
deals where you just show up, you know everybody, you know all the infrastructure. It's not like overwhelming. They're able to be
Yeah.
bought cash. The sellers are not super sophisticated or institutional. Yeah, just our kind of little sweet spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a ton of opportunity with those, So so you're buying a lot and doing a lot of JV structures. How many would you say are you buying cash versus seller financing, where you're having to put a certain amount down?
It varies like on the year. Like this year, we've done quite a bit of seller carry. Do like a lot of like seller second deals or like smaller seller carries, where it's like if they want just say 500, you want to be at 4, you meet in the middle at 450, but they carry 50 of it.
Yeah.
So we do like a lot of that stuff, just like shorter, smaller like seller notes, just to get them done. A lot of times like that'll like bridge the gap too, so we can still like get the seller like their price. So, like, we'll get you like your price, but it has to be our terms. I this year probably was 50-50.
Wow.
And deals with some seller carry component to just cash. And then as a whole of the 93, we've probably done mid-20s to 30 of them have had like a seller carry component, maybe a little bit more.
Wow.
A lot of those, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, almost full seller carry for a handful, but most of them are 100, 200, 150. Yeah, just like whatever it takes to get the deal done. Like, hey, some stuff pops up in due diligence. Here's a list of everything. It's going to cost $50K to fix it, plus our time and the frustration. How about you carry 100? Just stuff like that. Always have tried to be like a deal maker versus like a deal killer.
So how do you distinguish what park that you're going to wholesale versus what park you're going to buy?
We kind of do like the same model for all of them. So like we will wholesale them. Like we do like our acquisition fee no matter what. And then whether we're a part of it or not, just depends on like who we're doing it with, where the park's at. So I would say probably 75 to 90% of our deals at least are like the kind of triple play that we do, where it's like acquisition fee, management fee, and like a piece of equity in the deal. So none of them do like, oh, we're just wholesaling it. Like it's not good enough. So every single deal that I do, like I'll be involved and I'll take a piece of it. Some of them I put a little cash into. Some of them it's just, hey, instead of the fee, can we just do more equity? But yeah, I've never, of the 93, I've never done a deal that I wouldn't have been happy to own a piece of.
Wow. So I guess a better question would be, what distinguishes your criteria, or how are you underwriting these deals to figure out whether you want to buy it or not be involved with it at all? Like what's your underwriting process?
Yeah, I mean, really, like, it's all of them will be involved with, so it's more just, like, what does the buyer need? And, like, are we on, like, the same page? Like, sometimes they'll just be, like, you could tell we're going to kind of, like, clash, like, management style. Ours is much more, like, we have just so much volume with, like, everything. We can't, like, manage, like, how other people want to. So, like, we don't, like, we do, like, eviction notices and whatnot every month, but, like, a lot of people are like, I want to evict everybody with a balance on the 6th. By the 15th, I want them in court. Everything I want done, like, day of. Like, we are just more, like, yeah, like, we are just, like, a volume business in a lot of ways. So, like, I'll be, like, very upfront with them in the beginning. Like, you have to be in Rent Manager. Like, we're not doing stuff in Appfolio and all these
Yeah.
other ones. Like, it is in our Rent Manager that, like, you'll have access to only that perk. And you can see it whenever you want, but, like, it has to be in Rent Manager. If you're in something
And you're
else, we'll
talking
take over.
to the investor.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
like,
So you're telling the
it's that.
investor this.
Yeah, so just, like, if they want us to manage and be involved, like, it's that. It's, like, obviously agree with, like, our management fee and compensation and whatnot. It's that. It's, like, how we manage. Like, we are going to have, like, a manager in the park. We're not
Yeah.
going there weekly. Like, I personally am not, like, setting eyes on this. I can't promise you how often. Like, we will have a manager who's there. This is how they're paid. This is what they do. And a lot of times people are like, hold on, like, you're not there. A lot of people, like, very active manage. Like, they're at their projects every day. So a lot of times, like, after we go through it, it's just like, hey, this is not going to be, like, the best fit. I'll help you, like, transition it. But, yeah, it's better, like, just pay the fee and let's move on. A lot of times it's just, like, they want to own 100% of the equity, or they have, like, a family member involved who doesn't know me. So they're like, yeah, like, my dad doesn't, like, want to do business with a stranger, so, like, we'll just pay you a little bit more fee instead of the equity. So it's really just kind of just having a conversation like this, like, let's just go out to dinner or, like, hop on Zoom, make sure that we're, like, 100% aligned, and you can typically tell pretty quick if you're going to, like, get along with somebody.
Yeah. So that's a good overview of the kind of the capital stack per se of how to take down each deal. What about the actual deal itself? Like, are you looking for only city utilities? Does it have to be a certain amount of sites? Does it have to be a certain cap rate that you're trying to buy it at? Or what does that process look like from analyzing a deal and bringing it to one of your investors? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So yeah, we're pretty flexible with, like, all of it. So we've done park-owned homes, tenant-owned homes, all the types of utilities, except Lagoon. We've had, like, a couple Lagoon deals just go bad, as I feel like they always do. But so yeah, we're pretty open with, like, all of it. I would say, like, my biggest metric and, like, what I suggest that other people do is, like, people get, like, just infatuated with, like, what does it look like today, and, like, I am not paying, like, today's price for tomorrow's upside. I'm like, who cares what it looks like today? Like, what are you going to do day one? And what's this thing going to look like in 3 months? Like, I'm not saying, like, go pay somebody for a bunch of the upside. But, like, if you're buying a park that's a 5 cap because the rents are at 100, and then the market's 3. So, yeah, I mean, overpay that 5 cap because you're going to get it to a 15 and just, like, making up numbers. So people, like, beat up sellers and, like, lose deals because they're just infatuated with that day one price. And I'm like, you just have to. Yeah, you just, like, what is it going to look like in 3 months? Are we doing a big rent raise? Are we selling homes? Like, what is our business model? So I like to, like, look at it, like, what is the 3 to 6 month time period?
Okay. And so you're basically looking at that, and you're telling your investors, hey, in the next 3 to 6 months, we can get this to XYZ. And that's how you're analyzing a deal. So really just, I mean, any deal that has a certain amount of upside, you're looking at buying. Or is there, like, certain things you don't want to buy Is there certain areas, certain cities, certain states that you're just like, no, I'm not buying anything here? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, there's there's definitely cities I've been to where I'm like, I don't want to go back there. Um, so yeah, it's like also like just a lot of it's just like the feel. So like, I mean, now we know a lot of them because like we've already like we've been there and like spent time there and like we know. But like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like some like even like just say like Kansas City. Like I love Kansas City. Topeka is 45 minutes west of Kansas City and it's a whole different animal. But it's like it's right
Yeah.
there. Um, Other places like yeah, like I've been like Shreveport, Louisiana, for example. Like nothing against it, but I just like I would not buy something there. Um, Been to
Yeah.
places like in Texas to where like I don't know if it's like 30 minutes like separates that big, you know. So I think it's just like a lot of the feel. Like there's places here in Florida where everybody's like every Florida deal is amazing, but like it's not. A lot of it's just like the feel going out, walking the downtown. A lot, especially like
Mm-hmm.
the southeast Midwest, you gotta go feel that downtown. Like especially the small ones,
Yeah.
so you gotta park and just walk it. And a lot of them do
Yeah.
have like nothing's open. Um, so that I see like a lot of like we like love small town parks. We're like
Mm-hmm.
500 to 5,000 population. So it's like another thing. Like I'll see people like there is no way. Like just say it's 1,000 person town. They're like, are you
Yeah.
crazy? There's no way. I'm buying 100 site park in 1,000 person town. I have 10% of the population. That's insane. What if the town dies? But then it's like a suburb, and then 10 minutes away is like a huge city. So it's like
Yeah.
that little town is really just it's a part of the big city. So you got to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Stuff that's easy to get to. We kind of go to everything, but like, can you
Yeah.
fly direct there? I always tell people like check Allegiant. So we fly like a lot
Yeah.
of Allegiant flights to the smaller
Oh,
airports. Like,
really?
yeah, if you got to connect like through like two or three places, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're probably like
So,
Allegiant, like top 5% of flyers, and have no perks.
that's awesome. Uh, that's awesome. So, yeah, so you really just kind of get a vibe for the park, is what you're saying. Like, and this is the same with fix and flip, by the way. They say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what the studies say, that buyers know within the first 10 seconds if they're going to buy the house or not.
I totally believe that. Yeah.
I totally believe it too. I get the same feeling with a park. Like if I'm rolling in and I'm like, this place is kind of scary. Like I don't want to buy it. But
No.
some of the parks are like, I'm like, man, I would live here. Like this
Yeah.
is a cool little spot, you know? And
100%.
so you kind of just get a good gut feeling. I mean, you've done it enough to where you get a good gut feeling or a bad gut feeling about it. And you just basically kind of just trust your instincts is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. It was funny that you asked that because it was a couple nights ago. Like me and my buddy were talking. He's like, if you could only do one thing if you're like buying a new deal, and you had to pick, is it like you get to walk it and have like a gut vibe? You see all the true financials, like no owner bullshit, like the exact money he's making, what he's spending. A talk with the city, like what's your one thing? And I'm like, walking it. Like gut vibe. Like I'd rather not see any
Yeah.
docs, not talk to anybody, not even know if the guy's making $1 in rent. If I could just walk it, like just one walk down the middle of the park, and I know like if I want to do it or not. And there's been
Yeah.
some where we pull up and we don't even get out of the car. We're like, what the hell? Like we can't do this. But we used to
Instantly
kind of
back
force
out.
it. Yeah, no. Before we try and like justify it, and like we'd fly there and we'd be like, we've got 2 days and $2,000, and like let's just see if it's worth it. It was I think it was like earlier this year, maybe end of last year. We flew up to Ohio, and yeah, it's far from Tampa, so you fly to Cincinnati, get in the car, drive an hour. A lot of money in this. 2 days. We pull up and we're like, screw this place. Like we're not gonna buy this. Yeah, nothing is skirting. The guy lied to us, so like we just never even got out of the car, and it's like, why force it? It's just like, So that's like the
Yeah.
best metric. You just gotta just go see it.
So what are some red flags that you find during due diligence that make you want to back out of a deal? Or what's something on site, like when you're doing your walkthrough, where you're like, nope, that's a red flag, like not buying this?
Yeah, so we've like the same process with all of it, and like of course learned the very, very hard way. So first we pull up always during the week. We see the part. We don't get out of the car. We just drive it. You drive right through it. Then you immediately go to like City Hall. Because if you walk into that city, and it's like you said, the 10-second thing, you can tell within 10 seconds if the city hates that park's guts or not. Hey, I'm buying, Shady Acres. And they're like, what? You're doing what? They're like, you?
They're like, good luck.
Right. So sometimes they're happy. They're like, are you serious? Like, I have one now where they're like, we haven't talked to the owner in 5 years. They're like, you're talking to him? They're like, he's on the phone. You're talking to this guy. He's alive? Like, we thought he died. I'm like, when's the last time you talked to him?
Wow.
Like, 5 years. I'm like, that's insane. So it's like, but yeah, you could tell right away. So like, now that's like our second thing. So like, my first thing would be just gut vibe. Second, I don't want to see any of the financials. I want to talk to the city first. Like, if I only do two things, it's just that. Because some of those cities, like, yeah, you kind of do your little sales pitch. Like, oh yeah, we're going to clean it up. We're going to do this, do that. And then they'll kind of be looking at you, and then, it's bad when they're like, well, you're going to replace all those trailers, right? And then, no, like, they're all occupied. Like, the residents actually own them. I'm not sure if you know, but those aren't rentals. Those, the tenants own them. Well, you're going to replace those trailers, right? And it's just like a broken record, like, replacing trailers. So if they're on, it just wrap it up and head home. It's not even worth it.
So if the city hall, when you're talking with them, if they're, because I personally, I feel like they're all that way. I feel like they're all like, not supportive to some extent. Like, they're not like, oh, you're building a brand new 200 unit apartment complex and you're solving the affordable housing crisis here. Yeah. Like, they all kind of have a weird thing about mobile home parks.
Well, they hate them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you distinguish a good meeting with the city hall versus a bad meeting?
As soon as they're in the, great question. A lot of times you can't. It's like replacing. So it's like when you start hearing like we're replacing stuff, or if you hear the word demo, citations, abatement. Oh my God. If you hear the word abatement, it's definitely, hey, it was nice to meet you guys. It's time to go. That's like it's like a nightmare about abatement. So yeah, like, and just hearing like, oh, so like, what you want to ask, like, what's going on with the current owner? They always like don't like them. And then you kind of feel like, oh, like, what have you guys done? Like, have you tried to work with them? And a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, we try, he just doesn't. You kind of want to see, like, you want to learn, like, what's the punishment? So like, if the punishment is they just don't like you, or is like the punishment they're abating this guy? I still don't even really know what that means, but it seems like, they're just abating this, abating that. All the cities have like a different definition of it. Some of them it's just money. Some of them they're like actually demolishing stuff. So you want to learn what the punishment is. And some of them it just happens like, we have 2 parks now where we're actually 3 of them, to where we're like really fighting the cities. All 3 of them have like some new person that's like a mayor, or like new city council person. And it's just like, that's when the problem starts. So a lot of times, like, I did good city meetings on the 3 that I'm like referring to. It went great. But yeah, somebody new stepped in. And now, they're abating stuff and they're demolishing homes. And so you want to just make sure in the beginning, like, what's the general feel for it? What's what's the vibe? Like, what's the city's involvement? Especially if it's like direct build. We have some parks, we have like every possible scenario. So we have some to where like they do everything. If the people don't pay the bill, they shut it off. We have others to where if they don't, like the tenant doesn't pay the bill and it's direct build, we have to shut it off. And like the city's just not easy person to work with. Because like if they want something done, they have like 8 guys, and they just assign a work order and they just go do it. With us,
Yeah,
like we
they
have
just
the manager do it, and it doesn't happen as quick. So
yeah,
you want to like
they'll just go
learn.
and turn off the water.
Yeah, but we have to,
Yeah.
put a little paper up and then do it, and then the tenant's throwing stuff at the manager while he's shutting off the water, and so you want to learn like what's like the working arrangement. What are you guys involved in? If they're
Yeah.
like plowing the snow or if they're picking up the garbage, like then you know they're just going to be more on you. Like if the city's actually in there like on a weekly basis. The worst is
Yeah.
if the city does the electric. Like some of our not super small towns, but like the 10 to 50K cities, like they own and they do the electric. So it's like a home goes vacant, they immediately know about it. They do the shut off. What's going on with it?
Yeah.
Our guy was in there and he fell through the floor. So you want ideally a city to where it's all direct build, but they're not too involved, which is the golden goose. So.
Yeah, the golden goose. That's good info. That's good knowledge. Because, yeah, they're definitely interesting conversations with the city to see like how much they care, how much they don't care, how much they aren't keen to your ideas. Because it's almost like you're talking to them sometimes, and it's like a brick wall, and they're like, "Okay, you're doing what?" like,
Yeah.
And yeah, you just want to operate things, more efficiently. So that's good. So let's talk about that Clanton Park. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
So that was one of your first parks, right? You bought a park in Clanton. And was it similar to the one that we have right now? And tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was my first deal. It was just an assignment deal. My first closing was it was a 2-park package in Clanton and Anniston. It was the first park I ever called. I'll never forget it. Called the guy.
Really?
And he's like, he hadn't been there in years. He was like a military guy. He was like just stationed somewhere else. And in the beginning, I think like we both tried to pretend like that we kind of knew what we were doing. And I was like asking him stuff. He didn't know. I was probably asking like the wrong stuff. And then it was like a week or two into the negotiations. Like he's like, "All right, like let's do it." And I'm like, "All right, deal." And he's like, "Are you like gonna send me the contract?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, definitely." I didn't even know you had to do that. So then I called like a title company. I'm like, "I'm buying a mobile home park," and they're like, "Congratulations. What can we do for you?" And I'm like, "Well, what do we do?" And they're like, "Do you have like a contract? Do you have like anything done?" There's like Googling Alabama contract. It's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it was like a super like we call them like a dog track layout. Like a home is this way, a home is that way. That like just like that. Like the Clanton Park was solid. The Anniston Park, like the manager's like stealing like I guess all the money. They ended up like finding out. The buyers, great friends of mine, and we've done a ton of business together.
How many lots and what was the price for Clanton?
It was I think it was 50 and 30. I think it was 80. It was like 70 or 80. I'd have to look it up. It was 70 or 80, and I think the total price it was 400. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. I have a picture.
Wow.
I'm trying
80 lots for $400,000.
Oh, that was yeah. I mean, I did deals that first year. That was I did a 47 for like 275, a 37 for 150. Like looking back, I could be like, I would know. Yeah, I could be retired off just those first like 10 deals.
Oh my gosh. That is insane. I mean, $5,000 a lot.
I'm trying to find
that
it.
That is just unheard of.
That they were all
but that's also the pricing back then,
They were all like that then. Yeah. Here it is. It was a 50 site and a 25 site, so 75 sites. And
Wow.
the price, it was 4 or 430. I can't remember. I know it was one of those.
Wow.
So 75 sites for worst case scenario 430.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That's
Then I
so
did it.
cheap.
Yeah. Then I did a 46 site was my third deal. That was 275, and I thought it was like, it's so painful to even talk about. That was like all,
Gosh.
all of them. I did a 43 site my first year for 120 grand. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh. And these are like licensed lots. Like these are
yeah,
with mobile homes on top of them.
yeah, these are like legitimate. Yeah, one of them I
Oh
did
my gosh.
my first year. It was just outside of Charlotte, all direct build, all tenant owned homes, and like they did end up doing like a lot of infill. I think I had that it was 150K for 37 sites in Charlotte
Oh my
Metro, all direct
gosh.
build. Yeah,
That is insane. I mean, that is literally like over 90%, but 90% off
yeah,
of what
yeah.
it probably could go for.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, and yeah, I've got like my whole list pulled up now, and like you would definitely see like I'll send you like I do like my end of the year newsletter. Well, I do it every month, but the end of the
yeah.
year when I do like all the data for the years, so I'll forward it to you or I'll add you on the list, and you'll see like the
Yeah, dude,
prices
add
are
me.
definitely.
Add me, yeah. Add me to your newsletter. I'd love to see that. So I mean, those were deals, in 2018, 2019. What about deals in the last 12 months? How are you making something pencil right now with 8.5% debt?
Yeah, it's a lot of just hairier like upside turnaround perks. Like I'm like looking at my list now. Last year was our best year. Um, And yeah, I mean, just like walking down the list, like one of them was like first deal of last year was like a no rent roll, like make it work, figure it out sort of deal. Second one was a 100 cider that I was working for years. Like I think the collections day one were like 50%. Um, yeah,
Wow.
like yeah, like my best buyer took that down. You did like get bank debt on it, like a relationship based loan. Next one was like a 12 site, just I don't know, it's probably like a 6, 7, 8 cap on like on actuals, like what people would
Mm-hmm.
assume, but like on actuals, like that park is all direct build. City does the snow. All you have is property taxes and insurance. So like everybody else passed it up, and then we ended up taking it down. And like that thing, like the expense ratio on that is like it's maybe doing 8, 9% at most expenses. So it's like stuff that
Wow.
like you just gotta like dig into it. We did like a 4 park package, 114 sites. So yeah, one of them's the best, one of them's the worst.
Wow.
2 different states. Just a difficult deal to get done. We did another one that it just didn't work with traditional like a regular loan. So we did a seller second on that. Um, so between the bank and the second, it was I think like 60, 70K to buy like a 50 site park out of pocket. Um,
Wow.
just a lot of stuff like that. A couple small ones. We had like an 8, a 6, a 9, a 10, a 5. Yeah, just all ones to
Mm-hmm.
where like people were just like scared to pull the trigger. Um,
And these are all deals that you're calling off of Google.
so now I mean we do mail too. So like we do like direct mail. I haven't really at all this
Oh.
year. It's just been too busy with all the perks and a baby and a different business and um
Mm-hmm.
we thankfully finally after all these years we get like referral deals. So like sellers will like tell their trailer park owner friends. I don't know how they meet them, and then they'll call me and
Wow.
I'm like, oh my god, it's so nice. So we do like a lot of that. We've done some like guys like us who like a buddy of theirs like wants to sell a park and just doesn't like want to go like the broker route. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so thankfully, and it just shows like how long it takes. But after probably about 70 deals, I finally started to get some like they're calling me. Um,
Wow.
a lot of that, and then a lot of them I pick them up on the trips. So like when we go,
Mm.
we'll like hit the 10 closest parks and just be like, we just bought XYZ park. Oh, that dump. Mine's better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff like that. A lot of more like kind of grass, like roots, guerrilla marketing style. Yeah, and
Nice.
like yeah, just thumbing through. A lot of stuff like that was last year. Same with this year. Just like weird stuff. Like the septic guy owns a park. He wants to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Like just having conversation, just texting people. Like just so casual. Like
Yeah.
so casual. It's
Wow.
just what's getting them done.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Alabama was your first state that you were
Yeah,
in?
yeah.
How many deals have you done in Alabama?
I think 9, and I know that's
9.
where you guys are killing it. But yeah, I love Alabama. I think I've done 9 there. We have a bunch of parks there now.
You currently own in Alabama too?
Yeah, and one of our best parks is a park in Oxford, Alabama.
Oxford. Okay. Yeah, I have an interesting story about an Oxford deal that I'll tell you about after this.
Yeah, it can't be talked about on the air.
Yeah, it's in
It's funny.
active litigation. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, two
but
tales of Oxford. Yeah.
yeah, Oxford's a great market, really good market.
Yeah.
Their high school there looks like a small college.
It's really
As
grown there,
does,
too. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, as does a lot of, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, a lot of these high schools are just massive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
We
yeah,
knew we made a good
Oxford's,
call there. We rolled up and there was a
yeah,
crumble cookies. We're like, if they've got a crumble cookies, like, we're good. Like, due diligence is
yeah,
over.
yeah. Crumble cookies. It's the new Starbucks effect. It's like if they
Right,
got a
100%.
crumble, like we're going to be at 90% plus occupancy. Like
Yeah. No,
the
my
people
buddy
need
always
their
calls me.
cookies.
Yeah, he does like the first like trip through, like if he's already near like a park before I'll go to, and he'll call me when he's like 5 minutes away, and he's like, "Okay, I see a Dollar General, Dollar Tree." He's like, "Okay, we got a Walmart now," and he's like, "We got Starbucks," and if it's like Target, he's like, "We're good, we're good." Crumble, we're
We're good.
good. Chick-fil-A, we're good. So it's like, yeah, those brands, and turn the car
Oh
around,
yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want a lot of laundromats and dollar trees, dollar stores, Um you you want to have a little bit more civilization basically. You want people, you want activity.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
driven through some of these and they're teeny tiny little towns. I mean, like the restaurant, the dentist office, it's like, that's what they're named. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's not even a McDonald's here. I don't want to buy a park here.
Sometimes those are the best ones now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're probably the first guest on the podcast to say that is you've done really well with some of these tertiary markets.
Yeah, that's even generous to call them that. Like, or
Yeah.
like our best ones is you like pick a big city, like pick Charlotte, Minneapolis, I mean even Tampa. You pick a big city and then you do like just draw like where's 2 hours away from it, and you do like a loop around it. All of our stuff is in that like 30 minutes
Yeah.
of that 2 hour loop. So we're from an hour and a half outside the big city to 2.5 hours. Is like probably almost every one of our deals
Wow.
of all like 60 something of them. We have a couple that are like in the actual city. But yeah, like I love those
Mm-hmm.
small towns. Just better tenants, better cities, better everything. My least favorite is like
Wow.
I hate the parks that like we have that are like next to like a gas station or like something that's like attracts like transient people.
Yeah.
Just like it's just trouble. And then the worst is if like anything in a park that's not like a mobile home, like I want to enact like in 2025, we just knock it down. Like if you have a
Yeah.
shed, a hut, an old
Yeah.
office, just yeah, like the best thing, just knock that sucker down. day one,
Yeah.
because like it is just a hub of just like we have a park right now where like this is like our 10th person who's like living in this shed. We're like, where are they coming from? It's always somebody
Gosh.
different. How is this the best? There'll be like a vacant home right next to it. They'll be like, screw that, I'm living in the shed. We're like, just good
my
lord.
gosh.
It's just
That's
Yeah.
bad. That's bad.
yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
So what are you looking forward to in 2025? What's kind of your game plan? You know, what do you got on the horizon right now? What's your plans for next year?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I just had a baby. He's about to be 2 months old.
Congrats.
So thank you. So that's been a lot. Loving that. Bought a new business that's like not mobile home park related. Earlier this year, so like growing that. But yeah, I would say like park wise this year, there's like a lot of like just systemization. I want to become like more of like a business. A lot of what we are, been talking about this whole time is just like the casual, easy approach. But yeah, there's like cons of that. So I want to like really do like a lot of more systems and processes. And yeah, just like be able to just like get away for a little bit,
Yeah.
even if I don't have to. Like right now, it's tough even for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
So we're trying to like just block out like what are all of our pain points, like the mail. We get like 100 pieces a day. Like, what can we do to like let's get every bill on auto pay?
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. Like when we hire a new manager, like here's like a handbook of like all of, like the basic stuff. So like I'm really like just looking forward to just like a lot of that stuff. Like it's not exciting, but it's like exciting as we like
Yeah.
yeah, like I want to go from like where we're at now to like 5,000 watts. So I feel like right now is like it's our
Yeah.
biggest transitionary phase. We're either gonna like cap out or kind of like take a couple punches and then like rocket ship. So looking forward
Yeah.
to just like a lot of that happened this year. So just kind of looking forward to like the big boom of next year.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you're thinking the market, you're pretty bullish on the market this next year?
I've always said that the market just doesn't matter here. We're just no matter what we're doing deals. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Every
Well,
year.
yeah, I guess it's nice to say that, when you can take a lot of these deals down cash or seller financing, the rates definitely change a little bit, but maybe with the deals that you're buying, it's so much at volume and so much at scale that it doesn't even matter if the rates are at 8 or 7. It doesn't matter. You're still going to buy good deals.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has. It was a million times easier before. Yeah, this year's been very tough. But I think the biggest thing is like the deals that are out there, and I'm sure you're seeing it too. I mean, how many deals that you talk to are just like too hairy? Like, I mean, yeah, they're just a mess. Like, how many deals do you think when you're
Yeah.
calling that you talk to a seller where it's like a clean operation?
1 out of 100.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they want a crazy price. So like, there's just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of areas don't have any deals left. So
Yeah. Yeah. Again, there's limited inventory, and it's a lot of this stuff is getting bought up, and it's interesting, but makes me sad that I've wholesaled some parks. I want to like take them down,
yeah, no, it's I think yeah, it just depends on like there's still a lot out there. The wholesaling is so
Oh, yeah.
so valuable, like just pad and like the experience, but they just like find like the good markets that still have deals and just hammering it home. And yeah, you're killing it in Alabama right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're going pretty deep into Alabama. So we're closing on 34 lots in Prattville at the end of this week,
Nice.
right outside of Montgomery. And then we have kind of a smaller deal. It's 26 lots just north of Birmingham
Nice.
that we're closing on probably early January.
Mm.
We have a few other ones that are in the pipeline that we're still trying to contract and potentially wholesale and stuff like that. So we got about like 5 or 7 different parks that are in the pipeline. Sellers that I've talked with for months, so it's just figuring out which deals make sense, which deals don't, and, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about these 2 deals that I currently have, the Prattville and the Birmingham one. So
yeah, that's huge.
Basically, I mean, we are nowhere anywhere close to your operation, but we'll basically be at, a little over 120 lots in the first 12 months.
That's incredible.
Which is great. Yeah, which is great. We're not growing crazy fast, but I feel like we're buying good deals with good debt and good capital stack, and we're wholesaling a few deals here and there, building a good buyer list and a good reputation in the industry so far, and kind of just want to keep that going into next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. And I think, by a long shot, the first deal's the hardest. The first 100 lots is the hardest. So
yes,
now you're putting your own systems and processes anywhere else other than Alabama, or are you guys just clocked in only there?
So far, it's just Alabama. Yeah, we were looking at another deal in Kentucky. It didn't come together due to some, financing with the bank. They didn't really have an appetite for it at the time. And, it's probably a blessing in disguise that didn't come together. But, just as of right now, just in Alabama.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm definitely open to other states. But it just has to be the right deal. It just has to make sense. I just personally, I haven't been able to make anything else pencil in Georgia or in Indiana. We were looking at a 68 lot in Indiana for $1.3 million. That was a great deal, fantastic deal. Everything was perfect, paved roads, but it was a wastewater treatment plant. And
it's got to be right.
I just can't get comfortable with it, so I'm only trying to do deals that I feel comfortable with, and maybe I'll cut my teeth on some other deals, but just right now, I just really want low risk, low leverage, less leverage.
Yep.
The older that I get, the more debt free that I want to be. And I heard a cool story. You'll like this from a guy here locally in Phoenix. He bought this giant portfolio of single family homes and sold half, took the capital and paid off the other half of his portfolio.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Now he owns like 75 million of homes, and he has no debt on them.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, we're even now I have a small park under contract. It's kind of like for the same reason. It's only 7 sites, and my one of my employees and I told him, "Hey, you've been working here for a couple of years. Like, why don't you get in on it? We'll split it. Great seller financing on it, and just it's short term, so we'll pay it off next year. Small park, but I'm like, just to own it outright, free and clear, in house. And it's like the seller carry. We're getting into it for like probably 12 to 15K down all in. So it's like it's so small. I'm like, we're only gonna each probably walk away with $300-400 a month. But it's like just the value I think of no debt on it. We can keep that forever. Like a good story too, like from kind of entry level employee up to hey now we own a park together. I think there is huge. Just so much value in that. As you get older, like you're 80 years old when you say that.
Yeah.
What are you, 20? Exactly. 29 too, right?
29. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Yeah. No, I 100% I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would stick in Alabama. I mean, a lot of the areas where we do best are where we have like the most stuff because like we've got the plumber, we've got the this, the that. And the parts that suffer for us are the ones that, we have nothing within like 6-7 hours. So I would just hammer home in Alabama, and maybe you buy all of our stuff there.
Yeah, maybe one day. That's awesome, dude. Well, dude, you got an amazing story. Thanks for hopping on. I think people got a lot of value out of today. And if people want to follow you on social media, where could they find you?
On Instagram, it's probably the easiest. My username is at Florida Jimmy. Or on Facebook, but yeah, if you search Jimmy Johnson, there's going to be like a million of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you search it, mobile home parks and my name, and it all shows up. So
Awesome. Well, everybody out there that's in the Florida market or any market in the Southeast, definitely make sure to reach out to Jimmy. Showed a lot of value today. So that is it for the episode, you guys. If we haven't had a conversation, go to rocketcapital.fund, reach out to me, and we will have a good talk and see what I can do to help you. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next episode.